before we came in here, Josh leans over to me and goes, I want an Arsenio Hall style interest. So you can thank ChatGPT for writing you one.
Amazing, amazing. I think there's beer coming in here too. And for me, it was really, really important for there to be beer in here because of how I started in the restaurant business, which was 100% completely an accident. An accident. My first day ever in the restaurant business, outside of delivering pizza when I was a high school senior, was my first day running the on-premise, which is every restaurant, bar, nightclub, strip club, stadium, hotel, airport in America, for the largest on-premise alcohol company on earth, Anheuser-Busch. Crazy. They hire me because of 20 years experience with Walmart, Kroger, 7-Eleven, and they said, you're going to be responsible for Buffalo Wild Wings, Hooters, and Rick's Cabaret. Different. And I come into a situation that, quite honestly, was less than ideal. They wanted somebody new because Anheuser-Busch had 18 consecutive years of market share decline when I took over the business. We were hated. Most restaurant groups wouldn't even talk to us. I remember Wyman Roberts from Chili's. He said, if this guy's still here in a year, I'll give him 15 minutes. That's how bad this was. We had no involvement in the industry. I met Sam when the NRA said, have breakfast with this guy and decide if we want to let them back into the National Restaurant Association. You know how hard it is to get thrown out of the National Restaurant Association? We were viewed as self-serving, egocentric, cheap, and non-innovative. And now Anheuser-Busch has the gall to insult the entire industry by putting someone in charge with a combined 0 days experience in the industry. And this literally happened. There was a betting pool for when I'd be fired among my own team. And I bet in it. And they were like, 9 months, man, you're arrogant, right? And when you don't know anything, you ask these like basic little questions, right? These stupid little questions just to get people talking. And the question that I asked everybody, what are the 3 things that keep you up at night? Simple. And I would get them talking, and I would write in my little moleskin notebook. And everyone's like, man, this guy's such a tool with his little moleskin notebook. And over the course of 4 months, we got 250 people to respond, right? So I have 750 answers. And what I learned was there were only 5 things. 5 things keep this business up at night. Growing traffic, increasing check size, being innovative, having well-engaged and well-trained employees, and managing commodity costs. So I said to my team, look, I don't know anything. You guys have made that completely clear, but what do we know about growing traffic? They're like, what do you mean? We have $2 Bud Light specials at every bar on the block. Got it. So why does someone go to Rev's Bar versus Sam's Bar? What do you mean? We have $2 pint specials at every bar on the block. Got it. We don't know anything about growing traffic. Check size. Oh, we'll get people to drink more beer. Yeah, the cops don't like that so much, especially if people are driving. What do we know about food? Nothing. You see where this is going? So we get to the staff. We knew nothing about bartenders, nothing about waitresses, nothing about cashiers, literally nothing. And it yielded, we did a $100,000 shopper insight study, and it yielded my favorite insight of all time. It's the one I talk about with my team all of the time, and that's that 98% of servers and bartenders under the age of 40 don't think they work for you. Your cashiers do not think they work for you. Your fry cook does not think he works for you. He's trying to grow or she's trying to grow their own personal brand. If they're in a for tips environment, they actually refer to themselves as mercenaries for hire. Can't make this shit up, folks, right? They believe they're there to grow their bottom line. 80% say they will not be in the industry in a year. 80% will absolutely be in the industry in a year. Just not with you, right? So as I thought about the 5 pain points for this presentation today, what I realized is if we look at growing traffic and increasing average check, it's really all about guest loyalty. That's literally Zach Oates' presentation in a nutshell. And when we think about employee training, highly engaged staff, and managing commodity costs, because let's face it, a lot of people, and it gets us into a lot of trouble, we view staff as a commodity at times. We talk about labor cost, right? That's about employee loyalty. And we need to be innovative with both pockets. We need to be innovative with both pockets. And I'm really fortunate. I actually have a very overqualified head of operations. My head of operations at Big Chicken Used to be the head of operations for Thomas Keller. You know, like French Laundry and Bouchon, one of the top 3 chefs in America. So my head of operations is literally his former head of operations. And Brian always talks about, to win in this business, you have to have hospitality in your heart. You have to have hospitality in your heart. And folks, I got to tell you, we lost it somewhere. We lost it somewhere. Because if you go on to Google right now and you type in restaurant loyalty, all you see is points, stars, apps, technology. That's loyalty. How do I make you love me more? I got an app for that. Maybe literally, right? Now, if you go and say, let's take the word restaurant out. Just what is loyalty? This comes up. Heart, 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 heart. Emotional connection. In fact, the Chinese symbol for loyalty, the top half means fairness and the bottom half means heart. It's fairness in your heart. That's what loyalty is in the Chinese culture. We somehow missed it. And here's the funny part about that. We see it everywhere. We know that staff loyalty and engagement are struggling. Right now, we have a 144% turnover rate in QSR. That's the highest it's been in 20 years. 20 years. 69% of our staff is Gen Z. They're under the age of 25. 62% say that they have faced emotional abuse from customers. That's not like the customer was sort of a jerk, right? Like emotional abuse from customers. And where are they going, right? Because I've been hearing for 3 years, oh, all the people will come back. Once the PPP ends, once the loans end, they'll come back. While we're waiting for them to come back, there's a 278% increase in warehouse and logistics jobs, meaning they could get the same $15 an hour job and not put up with the crap. Difficult, difficult. And we need to recognize, and Andy touched on it this morning, QSR employees, they're not living their best lives. We talked to you on day one. We talked to the fry cook. Welcome to your career at Big Chicken. In QSR, 46% of employees are gone within 90 days. By the time we train them, they're gone. They're 5 times more likely to quit over miscommunication with their management. We're the problem. We're not talking to them the way they want to be talked to. How many people here have revised their employee training methods solely to target Gen Z? I can't even raise my hand in good conscience. We're not there yet. We're trying. We're not there yet, right? And finally, wages management and scheduling are the top concerns for QSR employees. They could be paid more with greater flexibility elsewhere. And here's how bad this is. And the next slide I'm about to show is not from years ago. It's not from the pandemic. It's from 30 days ago. 30 days ago. Right now in California, 6% of the total homeless population in California work for us. So you're employed at a QSR restaurant and you can't make ends meet and you're homeless while you work for us. And if anybody has a QSR restaurant in California, I have 2 of them in the Big Chicken system, I need to come to grips that odds are at least one of my employees is homeless. It's bananas, right? 1/5 of our workers in QSR are on food stamps. The average worker works 26 hours a week. And here's one that most of us don't even think about. Because we change their schedules every single week, they actually cannot take a second job. So in our minds, hey, you know, it's 26 hours a week, you'll get a second 26-hour a week, $15 an hour job, you're good. When we start changing their schedules around week to week, what just happened? They lose their ability to take that second job. Now they're just underemployed. Now they become really, really at risk. And that was what Andy talked about this morning. So things like earned wage access have become so big. I mean, there's several companies in the room behind me talking about earned wage access because we know that 96% of employers who offer these programs say that it absolutely helps them attract talent. And I know what you're thinking. You're saying, but look, we're doing the best we can. Our labor rates are barely in the green. Maybe our labor rates are in the yellow. We took our average wage up to 15 or more an hour. We're doing all the things we're supposed to be doing. We've checked every box that they say, this is what you need to be doing in the QSR business. But you know, Shaquille's agent, and I'm blessed that not only do I get to work with Shaquille every day, I get to work with his entire business team, right? And his agent, Perry Rogers, has become like a big brother to me. And Perry, you know, and the photo, you'll see it's him and I riding on the Budweiser Clydesdales when we opened Beer Park back in 2015 when I was still at Anheuser-Busch. But one of his favorite quotes, and this is the guy who's the agent to Shaq and Jason Tatum, partner in the restaurant business. You can be 100% right and still not be right. We have done nothing wrong. That does not mean we're right. We're doing all the right necessary steps to better the lives of our people in what we currently view to be the creative right thing to do. What the conferences tell us is the right thing to do. We're doing the right thing. It doesn't mean we're right. And I want to spend a few minutes on this, right? Because our staff is becoming increasingly Gen Z. I put a lot of words on this slide because I assume they're going to send out this deck, and that's fine. But Gen Z, right? They're constantly seeking to find their authentic selves. And if you don't know what Gen Z is basically right now like 13 to 26-year-olds. We have a few in the room, just a few, right? Surround them at the bar later, right? Pick their brains, infect their souls, right? Gen Z is constantly seeking to find their authentic selves. They believe there's a fluid approach to life. They perceive the world as an undefinable reality. They're not afraid to draw outside the lines, right? And they're driving change in society. And here's what I want you to know about Gen Z. First, they want authenticity, not corporate speak. They have no desire to read our training binder. They want to be creative, and they want to work with us to be the change. They're saying, look, you want to target Gen Z? Don't spend 200 grand on a shopper insight study. Talk to us. We're right here in front of you. They're constantly judging whether we're authentic or faking it. So we have to be authentic every single day, every minute of every day. Leaders in QSR were on trial. And they feel betrayed because this was the industry that always had jobs. But then what did we do 7 days into COVID? We furloughed all the jobs. Seeing these servers is really making me thirsty, by the way. We also want to communicate differently with our staff than they want to be communicated with. How many people in here still give performance reviews? It's okay. You could admit it, right? Most people give performance reviews. It actually said in the offer letter when I started with Big Chicken, you will get a performance review after 90 days. Yeah, we changed that. They want continuous feedback. They want at the end of every shift 2 to 3 sentences on what they did great and what they could do better. And we're also on completely different social networks. They watch our every move. They're still on Facebook solely so their parents know that they're okay, right? But they've gone way past us. They've gone to Instagram, then we caught up to them there, right? Like if you're in your 40s, you caught up to them on Instagram. They're like, screw this, man, we're gonna go to TikTok now. A few brave souls in this room were like, we'll follow you to TikTok. They're like, great, on to the next one. On to the next one, right? And think about it. For those of us in the room that are a little older, Facebook was awesome until when? Your mom requested to be your friend. That was the day it broke down, folks, right? Like if Mark Zuckerberg is wondering what happened to my company, he lost all credibility when mom started friending their kids, right? So we have to evolve our hiring practices. Instead of being on 4 or 5 job boards hoping they find us, we need to go to companies like Landed, where you're on 70 job boards all at once. The number one way people will accept employment from here on out is Handshake. How many people have an employer page on Handshake right now? I'm not ashamed to admit it. I didn't even know what it was until 30 days ago getting ready for this presentation. So I'm happy to know that I'm not the only one, right? And our training needs to evolve and capture their hearts and minds too. It needs to be bite-sized and snappy. We're giving binders, they want 8 seconds of content in a video form. Hamburger University is the easiest way to piss somebody off. They want tools like Ubic or One Huddle or Opus, who I met today. They want some of these things. And recognition and thank yous are their emotional currency, 62% getting abused. So as we look at what's Big Chicken doing to drive employee engagement, we're doing a few things. First off, we're now on Landed, right? We will be on all of the job boards because we want you to find us regardless of how you choose to apply. Second, we joined something called the Health Benefit Alliance, and we're encouraging all of our franchisees to do the same. We can't make them. That becomes a joint employer thing. But we really care about this Health Benefit Alliance because they can offer health programs of all sizes to part-time workers. We will have an option for franchisees. Actually, we have an option for franchisees where they can put part-time workers on health insurance programs for $48 a month. $48 a month. And for $48 a month, even if you're only making $15 an hour, you could figure that out, right? And oh yeah, by the way, if you're with me after 90 days, maybe I pay for it because it's only $48 a month. And they have bigger programs that go up, into like $1,000 programs a month. But the ability to have health insurance access no matter what matters. I'm spoiled. Andy said it this morning about Kevin Hart. I have Shaquille. Every single store we open, we put out a press release that Shaquille O'Neal's Big Chicken is having a job fair and is hiring. We had 500 applications for our Houston store within 6 days. Kind of wild, right, for fry clerks. Because the view is if I'm going to be in the QSR industry, I might as well work for Shaq because Shaq's awesome. And if this is going to be my life, I might as well have some fun doing it. Later in 2023, 7 shifts, which is better for scheduling for Gen Z. We're going to bring on a training platform. Daily pay should be turned on any minute for earned wage access. And then we are going to have Shaquille post once a week on his social channels the employee that touched his kind of life the most and made him say, yes, that's what Big Chicken is. Because wouldn't you love to be that person for that week? Wouldn't you love to feel that valued? All right, so that's employee, right? Didn't mean to say like we're messing this up, right? You can be 100% right, still not be right. We can do better, we know that, right? So let's talk about consumer loyalty now. Because when you think about it, consumer loyalty and employee loyalty, it's the same thing. It comes back to the heart. It comes back to, do people care? It's everything that Zach Oates was talking about, everything Andy Hooper was talking about. And right now, our pre-existing behaviors, they don't really talk about consumer loyalty. The first one is basically a digital punch card. Like nine coffees, you get your 10th one free. Guy looks at you after the 9th one and goes, your next one's on us, come on back in. Then he doesn't talk to you for your next 8 visits, right? The second one is price discounts for new customers, right? Like, hey, you just joined the platform, I'm gonna give you a free milkshake. Well, what about the people that have been with you for like the last 3 years? What do they get? They don't get much, right? And then the third one, and I love this one because it talks about fake relationship. The son asks his father, Dad, what's loyalty? I don't know, son, we're LeBron fans. We're LeBron fans. It's funny. It's really, really funny when we start to think about this stuff, right? It's punch cards and coupons online. It's literally doing digital shit, right? And please don't do this on a company laptop. Please don't put in what's it called when you pay someone to spend time with you. Because that's what we're doing, right? We're turning our guests into our escorts. We're paying them to hang out with us. It's wild when you think about it, right? None of that talks about heart. None of that talks about retention the way Zach Oates talked about earlier. None of that talks about the way we're gonna operate. And it's funny, there's 4 fast casual burger joints in my town, right? Five Guys, Mooyah, Smash Burger, Bear Burger. We only eat at 1. And I'm gonna tell you why in about 5 minutes. Right? But we only talk about we eat at 1. But here's the funny thing. That 1 happens to treat me the most transactionally of any of them. Right? We cannot treat consumers like a transaction. And we need to understand that different generations have different values. Reaching their heart is a little different. For millennials, they're tech native. They require a seat at the table. They're experience oriented. For Gen Z, they're digitally native. They're social and interactive. They have no attention span whatsoever. They're cautious in who they trust. But there's 2 areas where they're the same, and those 2 areas terrify me. Because remember, millennials, they're turning 40 this year. The oldest millennial is turning 40 this year. So now we're really talking about 16 to 40-year-olds. That's the base of our demographic, is Gen Y and Gen Z. The 2 things is, 1, they always want to be learning about who we are, and 2, loyalty is fickle. Loyalty is fickle. When you type in what are the traits of millennials and what are the traits of Gen Z, for both, loyalty is fickle. And if we don't do what we can to make sure that that loyalty becomes authentic, we have a problem, which means we need to adapt our hearts, right? How do we balance Gen Z's overarching need for social responsibility with our labor practices and procedures that we talked earlier? How do we balance Gen Z's need for one-on-one communication with our ability to listen to one-on-one communication? How do we balance Gen Z's need to feel connected with our ability to mass communicate? If you're sending the same email to all of your guests, please don't. right? How do we balance intergenerational slang and media consumption in a way that's relevant for all? If you're using the terms FOMO or YOLO with Gen Z, they'll laugh in your face. Don't do it, right? That doesn't mean you need to start using words like woke either, right? But we need to understand the effect that we're having. And authenticity and uniqueness are quickly replacing service. This is the first generation that has said, we would rather not have a traditional on-premise experience with waitstaff. We would rather not. Gen Y, which is millennial, it was all about personalization, uniqueness, and speed. Gen Z is all about authenticity, newness, and social conduciveness. Where in there does it talk about buy 9, get a cup of coffee for free? It doesn't. In fact, the consumer right now is so desperate to form a unique, authentic connection. Guys, you can't make this up. In 2019, a Vice Media reporter was actually able to make a fake restaurant the #1 restaurant in London on TripAdvisor by playing the Gen Y and Gen Z insights. The restaurant never existed, and yet it had over a 1-year waiting list, right? Let's take a look. Sound? It's working earlier.
Rated restaurant in London. You've got every foodie, celebrity, and blogger in the city trying to get a table. But the problem is, until now, it didn't exist.
Its fake website explained that they don't have a traditional menu per se. Instead of meals, our menu is comprised of moods.
For 7 months, Vice reporter Uber Butler tricked TripAdvisor.
It's like you blink and you're in the Groucho, you know what I mean?
Can you believe that you managed to get to #1?
You became the #1 restaurant in London.
After the Shed news hit the headlines, I spent 20 hours doing interviews back to back in like the Times, Torygraph, in the Evening Standard as a cultural reference point.
It's an extraordinary story. It's a jaw-dropping story.
Susanna Reid told me off on Good Morning Britain.
It's a very naughty thing to do.
Crazy, right? By the way, this is like a 40-minute video you could watch on YouTube. And here's the funny part about the younger generations. Not only are they desperate for us to be authentic, not only are they desperate for us to connect, they actually like our innovation more. They like what we're doing more. They like everything we're talking about more. They want meal kits. 82% of them want meal kits. Texas, during the pandemic, they made it legal for you to take on-premise alcohol to go. 70% want that. They're way more likely to use ordering and payment tech too. So we have to look ourselves in the heart and say, do we have the right behaviors to get them, right? So Big Chicken, we're doing a lot right now to play to the guest's heart. We're doing a lot to try to play to the guest's heart. And we're doing some things right, we're doing some things wrong, and anyone that knows me knows I'm candid on both, and we're gonna talk about both. But we use Ovation. We're with Zach all the way. And it's amazing. He's absolutely right. When you connect with a consumer who complains about their service, they always write thank you and they always say, I'm going to come back in. It's wild. Adomni. If you don't know the company Adomni, they're pretty interesting. They sell remnant digital billboard and out-of-home space. So now, not only am I on the billboard on the highway, but I could get onto like the little treadmill gym screen, you know? And the office building screen, and the apartment elevator screen, and really anywhere where I want to be with Gen Z and Gen Y, right? We've started sponsoring AAU basketball teams because Gen Alpha is becoming critically important. We'll talk about that in a second. But I love nothing more than when I get the notification on my iPhone that like Big Chicken AAU 72, Scottsdale 55, right? It's unbelievable. On Shaquille's birthday, we actually gave everyone that came in a free ice cream cone and said, you know, come on in, you can make a little video wishing Shaquille a happy birthday. And we had in one store in California a 135% sales increase over their average day sales, giving away 60-cent ice cream cones, right? Easy. We started having foosball and NBA Jam tournaments in our restaurants. And then for the kids, Gen Alpha, we did a free kids meal promotion because we know that if the kid gets that certificate to celebrate their last day of school, who's coming in? Mom, dad, big brother, little brother, grandma, you know, grandpa, cousin. Huge increases in sales too. Later in 2023, we have a couple things that I'm really, really excited about. I don't know if you heard earlier in the year, but Big Chicken was the first ever restaurant chain to sell a restaurant in outer space with Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin. We're coming back in July and August behind Space Exploration Month. And first off, we're just going to play on their names. So our LTOs are going to be the Blueberry Origin milkshake and the Chicken Club for the Future sandwich, right? But then kids are going to have the opportunity to fill out a postcard in the restaurant that's co-branded Club for the Future, Blue Origin, and Big Chicken. And those postcards will actually fly to outer space on a Blue Origin rocket, and upon their return into Earth, be stamped return from space. Meanwhile, Club for the Future is going to start talking with kids about, okay, 100 years from now, there will be space travel, right? Their generation will be the first generation to make that happen. What science, technology, engineering, and math needs to happen in order for that to occur? We will become the fun case study with the fun coloring page and the fun discussion point. And then next generation loyalty, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And I wanted to spend just 1 minute talking about Gen Alpha, because it's really, really interesting, right? We're talking about how we're trying to be youthful here. The #1 age cohort in Big Chicken of our guests is 40 to 50-year-olds. Because the way the industry tracks data right now is by cell phones and credit cards. Raise your hand if you gave your 10-year-old their own cell phone plan. Not a cell phone, their own cell phone plan. Nobody. So your 10-year-old right now is showing up as a 41-year-old. And somewhere in our companies, we're making decisions on how to attract that 41-year-old. And I wish I was 41, right? But this comes back to like Gen Alpha, and it comes back to those 4 fast casual burger joints. Mooyah, Bear Burger, Smash Burger, and Five Guys. Right? And the #1 reason why Gen Alpha picks a restaurant is because that's where their friends go. #2 is because of the YouTube influencer talking about it. But #1 is because of friends. The reason why my family only eats at Mooyah, if you were wondering which of the 4, is because the most popular kid in my 6th grader grade said, the one I like is Mooyah. And every 6th grader begs their parents in my town, I want to go to Mooyah. Now, I know what you're thinking, right? How does Five Guys stay in business? Well, the 8th graders, they prefer Five Guys. You can't make this up. But here's the funny thing, right? Because according to it, all these 6th graders are really 40-year-old men and women, right? Because that's the credit card. And it's like the biggest catfishing scam of all time, right? Like, because all of these like 10-year-olds are really like 40 and 50-year-olds in our data, I get served the most random shit, right? So out of nowhere, I started getting served, we see you don't come here for lunch. Come in for lunch Monday to Friday, right? Between 12 and 2, and we'll give you a free milkshake. I have never been to Mooyah without my kids. Not one time have I ever been to Mooyah without my kids. But because we haven't gotten to the heart of what's actually happening, every algorithm says, serve this 44-year-old guy living in New Jersey a coupon to come in for lunch when his kids can't be with him. And that, my friends, that's topic for the bar later, right? So our #1 goal at Big Chicken is to drive big fun. We talked a little bit earlier about driving big fun with Shaquille's birthday. Let's take a listen.
What's up, everybody? My birthday is coming up, and I want all of you to share in my celebration. Come down to any Big Chicken on March 6th for a free ice cream cone. It's on me.
And if I could do that again, I would never have done it that way, right? I would have never done it that way because it literally looks like he's talking from a teleprompter. Because he was talking from a teleprompter. And the first thing he said the minute he read that to me was, Josh, this reads like a white boy wrote it. I go, I did write it, right? I did write it. We needed it to be more authentic. When we did our first foosball tournament a couple weeks ago, we put out like posters in the restaurant, so nobody came. And we had to have a real heart-to-heart conversation on how we screwed this up. And I was preparing for this speech today, and right across the street from this restaurant is Bishop Gorman High School, which is one of like the top 25 baseball and basketball high schools in America. And I said, here's where we messed this up. And actually, like, this is probably sketchy as hell, but my brand manager is trying to recruit Bishop Gorman high schoolers right now. I said, find me the 3 most popular kids in this grade right? Offer them a gift card, offer them to come down, bribe them to post a TikTok video, whatever it takes. Let's go, right? And the next foosball tournament is going to be the Bishop Gorman foosball tournament. And then the week after, we'll do a different school, and then a different school. And we'll start to build a community because we want Big Chicken to be the place where you come with your friends. And the final piece of this is we recognize that to get to our guest's heart, we had to go out and create our own loyalty program. And like, I'm not a creative person by nature, right? Like, it's why I like being in the franchising business. But we felt we needed to create our own loyalty program, but there's an asterisk on it. There's nothing that we did in creating this loyalty program that's going to launch, Jason, in what, 3 weeks? 3 weeks. There's nothing we did that's brand new to the universe. We looked at what American Express was doing. We looked at what the airlines were doing. We looked at what hospitality was doing, right? Because think about it. Your Marriott program, Zach, look at how passionate Zach was about his Delta Sky Miles, right? We're more passionate about these programs than Restaurant Loyalty Program. So we looked at this and said, why reward guests for participation in a program instead of their behavior in the program? So from a joining perspective, right now we tell everyone, you need to download our app, set up your profile, remember your password. In the Big Chicken Loyalty Program, you actually automatically join. You just haven't opted in yet. Starting July 1st, when we turn this on, if you ever made a purchase at Big Chicken, you already have points. You already have points. From a using perspective, right now it's order on the app, give us your phone number, scan your QR code. Here, using's automatic. The only thing you need to make sure you do is have credit cards in your profile so we can know that it's you. We know the credit card number, it's pseudonymous, right? So we're not like stealing people's data. But as long as we can trace you to a credit card, we can give you credit. Rewards, one size fits all, right? That free shake at lunch that was so great on a Tuesday that I never had, right? Rewards here, you're going to choose, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. The industry makes redemption hard. We're going to make redeeming about your rewards. Communication, one size fits all. Here, communication will be personalized. Because in our loyalty program, there's going to be 4 different ways that you can earn, 4 different ways that we're going to build a relationship with you. The first one's on spending, and we could think about how we really want to ratchet that out. And oh yeah, by the way, because all of this is connected to your profile, if you want to connect the Visa card you gave to your kid to your loyalty, they actually can participate, right? So the first way is about spending. Second way is about visits. And no, we're not going to do what some chains do, which is like, come 9 times and you get your 10th coffee free, regardless of whether or not you spend $50 or $2 per visit. Love those programs, right? Imagine the ability that when you hit 10 visits, you get sandwiches turned on that the person with 8 visits can't get. Imagine the ability at 20 visits, and this is going to turn on more like November, December. Imagine the ability at 20 visits for you to actually join a DAO. You guys know what DAO is? DAO, Decentralized Autonomous Organization, which is very metaverse and Web3 and all those things, but it's how Gen Alpha thinks, right? Roblox, Minecraft, all this stuff operates on DAO, right? Imagine the ability that you actually get to come to some form of event online with our chefs, and the DAO will select our LTO. We'll present options. The DAO will select what the LTO will be at Big Chicken. If you like us enough to come 20 times, holy crap, are you going to be excited? And imagine the ability to have more little bells and whistles turned on if you feel like you want to give us information. We're so concerned about getting all of the data because we don't know if people are coming back. We come on super aggressive, right? We're like that guy at the bar. Every woman knows what I'm talking about. Person that like runs up and is like, marry me tonight, let's go, right? That's what we do on data, right? So imagine we already have a profile for you because of the credit card number. We already have your phone number because you give us your number either through third-party delivery or when you give us your number so we can text you your orders ready. We just need to connect the dots and you need opt-in. But then imagine the ability for me to say to you, if you give me your birthday, Shaquille will text you singing happy birthday on your birthday. And oh yeah, if you want to add your kids to the profile, he'll text them too, right? Singing happy birthday, right? And then from an endorsement standpoint, how do we reward consumers for honest feedback? How do we give them points just for giving us feedback? Good or bad, we don't care. We just want to hear from you because we care about you. It comes back to heart. And it's fairly simple, right? You get 5% rewards back, and you get to choose what you want to get. If you just want $5 cash every $100, we'll give it to you. If you want a $5 gift card, we'll give it to you. If you want swag, you want to save up, get that sweatshirt, we'll give it to you. If you want to go to a concert that Shaquille O'Neal's DJing, because by the way, right now he's the 4th ranked DJ in the world, DJ Diesel, check him out on Spotify. Come see him, he's coming to Chicago 3 times this summer to DJ, right? We'll give it to you. Imagine the ability if you spend $50,000 lifetime value and you want to save up, Shaquille will call you and have a 10-minute conversation with you. Holy crap. You get to tell us how you want to interface with us. So where most customers have a loyalty profile, right? 10 to 15% is normal, created when a customer signs up. 80 to 90% of our consumers will already have a profile they just need to opt into. And here's the best part about it. Jason, our CIO over there, and by the way, please don't send me the LinkedIn emails because I just need to flip them to Jason. His name's Jason McEachran. Please bomb him on LinkedIn, okay? He's awaiting it over there, right? But we're actually working on how to get cash purchases into the loyalty app as well so we could actually capture 100% of purchase. Most programs start when you sign up. So you might have come every day for the last year and you have 0 points when you sign up. Begins with your first purchase. Most don't reward existing loyal customers when they sign up. We will. As a result, what's normally a 12 to 20% adoption rate, from the beta testing we did, we think we'll be at 50%. And the usage rate, everyone will use. Everyone will use. It's just a question of do they want to interface. Because why on earth would we ever want to have a relationship with someone that doesn't want to have a relationship with us? Right? Do not Google, what's it called when you want to force a relationship, right? Things really start to get dark then. So let's put it all together, right? What did we do here, right? Our pain points are solvable when we operate from the heart. We have to. We have to operate from the heart. Our staff and our guests depend on it. And this means caring for people on an individual basis. And when you think about it, it's kind of funny, right, that they're reading the behavior of our 10-year-old kids as 40-year-old people, right? We need to care for people on an individual basis. Focusing on generational and demographic needs, it's critical. Our teams are hurting, and we need to be empathetic, and you've heard that several times today. And finally, loyalty must be about building long-standing, authentic relationships. Otherwise, it becomes fickle, and fickle loyalty isn't real loyalty. It's an acquaintance. It's an acquaintance. Do you want your brand to be embedded in someone's heart, or do you just want to be a casual acquaintance that someone won't object to, right? Our strategies and tactics need to drive this behavior. And now, since all the other presenters, I was told all the other presenters were putting like questions into ChatGPT, I had to do it too. My team begged me, right? So Halpern versus ChatGPT. And I put in here, how do you drive true loyalty in QSR? And what came out is it involves a combination of factors. Consistency builds trust, personalized recommendations, targeted marketing, meaningful benefits, build an emotional connection, solicit and act on feedback, staff training and empowerment. If you don't think the way you treat your staff matters in how consumers view you, man, right? More so than you'd ever know, right? We need to view our staff as guests. Andy Hooper was dead on. And to close, one final question on the day before we all start drinking beer, right? When I was at AB InBev, we'll bring it all back to beer. And by the way, it's going to be at least 6 beers before I comment on the Dylan Mulvaney incident at my old company. Crazy incident. But when I was there, the chief sales officer worldwide, Bernardo Paiva, he always used to ask this one question after any tough meeting, after anything crazy. And he would look you dead in the eye and he would say, "Where do you live?" And if someone asked you that question, what would you say? Everyone yell it out. Where do you live? Okay, Jersey, Charlotte, I heard a few. And he would look you dead in the eye, and he would say, no. Where do you live? To which you might say, Rev? Jersey. Well, or Rutherford, maybe?
Rutherford, yeah.
Rutherford. And he would say, no, my friend, you live in my heart. And that's where we need to get to with our guests. That's where we need to get to with our staff. This is an industry of love. Hospitality comes from the heart. I love you all. Thank you very much for listening to me today.